So this is the beginning of a very, very interesting storyline. In response to Mahārāja Parīkṣit's question, who really wanted to know what happened, how come the 49 Maruts, they had been given the status of being a demigod, although they were born in the demoniac lineage. So, in order to describe what exactly happened, Srila Shukadeva Goswami started talking about the overall context first. So, to help Indra, Lord Vishnu killed the two brothers, Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu. And the death of these two sons of Diti, as we saw in the description of the dynasty starting from Diti, Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu were mentioned. And so when these two demoniac brothers were killed by Lord Vishnu just to help Indra, Diti became really, really angry. So both the combination of grief and anger, as well as you can say the spirit of envy towards Indra, overwhelmed Diti. So Diti was thinking, Lord Indra, who is very much fond of sense gratification, has killed the two brothers, Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu, by means of Lord Vishnu. Therefore, Indra is cruel, hard-hearted, and sinful. When will I, having killed him, rest with a pacified mind? So it would be good for us to also see how Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu got conceived, and that reference was there in the third canto, 14th chapter, which we had already studied a while ago, but it is good to recall that. So it was mentioned by Shukadeva Goswami how Diti enticed Kashyapa Muni to conceive the children at an inauspicious time, and this led to the birth of the twin sons, Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyaksha. And just after the conception of these two demons, 39 and 40th verse of this particular 14th chapter, it was predicted by Kashyapa that, "O haughty one," or referring to Diti, "you will have two contemptuous sons born of your condemned womb. Unlucky woman, they will cause constant lamentation to all the three worlds. They will kill poor, faultless living entities, torture women, and enrage the great souls." And at the same time, in the 41st verse, he gave a blessing that at that time, the Lord of the universe, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the well-wisher of all living entities, will descend and kill them, just as Indra smashes the mountains with his thunderbolts. So we can now connect back to what is happening after these two brothers had been killed by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Now, the description of how they were killed will come in the 7th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. So in this way, we can actually combine these three sections together to get the overall story. So Diti at this time, she is in vengeful mood towards Indra, because for the sake of Indra, the Supreme Personality of Godhead had orchestrated to kill Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu. So she is speaking these words that, "I therefore wish to have a son who can remove Indra's madness. So what is Indra's madness here? That Indra was living as if he were immortal. He was living like just like he is like Indra considers his body eternal, and thus he has become unrestrained. And this is Indra's madness, and I therefore wish to have a son who can remove Indra's madness. And therefore, let me adopt some means to help me in this. Now, while contemplating on this, she also makes a very beautiful statement in the 25th verse that how, when one dies, one's body gets transformed into three possibilities, either the worm, stool, or ashes. If one enviously kills others for the protection of such a body, which is anyways destined to become worm, stool, or ash, does he actually know the true interest of life? Certainly he does not, for if one envies other beings, he is sure to go to hell. So, this analogy, actually not really analogy, but the three possible destination of the body transforming into worm, stool, or ash is going to repeat again in the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. So let's just understand these three possibilities. So after death, the body may become a worm if the body is disposed of without cremation, because it may be eaten by worms, or else it may be eaten by animals like hogs and vultures, and therefore it turns into stool. And then those who burn the dead body, then the body is therefore going to become an ash. So in this way, the body can only turn into worms, stool, or ashes. And therefore, um, Diti's point is that why Indra is becoming so bodily conscious, and therefore for the sake of his own body, he's he's killing others, and specifically he has killed my two sons, and that's what Diti's mind is right now. So she wants to avenge her son's death by killing Indra, because she thought of Indra rather than her sons, rather than considering her own sons' demoniac natures as well as activities. So she is really considering that this Indra should be killed. So Shuta Goswami, in this context, I'm jumping around a little bit, is pointing out in the 22nd verse, talking about the overall scene here, that after hearing Parikshit Maharaj speak respectfully and briefly on the topic essential to hear, Shukadev Goswami, who was well aware of everything, praised his endeavor with great pleasure and replied. So, in this particular text, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur highlights the word arthavat, or meaningful, because this pastime that is taking place has got a number of meanings, and particularly it has got three meanings that Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur highlights here. So it is important for us to know those three meanings before we even get into the details of what's going to happen. So, first of all, performance of bhakti to the Supreme Lord, even from the platform of Tamogun or with a vengeful attitude, like in the case of Diti, is capable of purifying the heart of the performer. So even such practitioners will gradually develop bhakti without tamas. They will attain liberation from birth and death and give up the tendency towards violence. And Diti is essentially a proof of this. Second meaning that will come out is that those with crooked hearts who see faults in others, although those persons are intelligent, neglect to see those same faults in themselves. So, in the case of Diti, in the 24th text that we just highlighted, she is she's not able to look into her own faults. She is pointing fingers at Indra, and therefore those with crooked hearts, they always try to see faults in others. And the third meaning that is going to come out is that even the learned can be cheated when they are lured by a woman, and Kashyapa is exemplifying that principle. So Shukadev Goswami is continuing his description that thinking in this way, Diti, understanding that the best way she can achieve this is by depending on the power of her husband, Kashyapa. So she started acting for the pleasure of her husband. She faithfully carried out his orders. She served with him with love, humility, as well as self-control. And that's what is described here, that with service, love, humility, and control, with words spoken very sweetly to satisfy her husband, and smiles and glances at him, Diti attracted his mind and brought it under her control. And so, in the 30th verse, it is pointed out that in the beginning of creation, Lord Brahma, the father of the living entities of the universe, saw that all the living entities were unattached. So, if all the living entities are unattached, how is the population going to come? And therefore, to increase population, he then created woman from the better half of the man's body, for woman's behavior carries away a man's mind. You will see in this whole section, like in the following verses as well, there are some great purports, but they all focus on how captivating this material life can be because of the attraction between man and woman. I can't think of a better section in the whole Srimad Bhagavatam that actually talks about the danger of family life. And every single purport that Prabhupada writes is just like that, very, very strong and powerful messages delivered. So it's important to note that the tendency to exploit others, and particularly on a bodily level, is present in every conditioned soul. And that tendency is born of false ego, and it's usually creates an intensity of sensual pleasure with the hope of experiencing that in the future. So, sex indulgence is the key sort of, you can say, the distracting agent in the minds of the conditioned soul that continuously increases the material fever. And this in turn reinforces the false egoistic perception of oneself being an enjoyer. And increasingly, we become far and far away from the nature of our true self as servants of the Supreme Lord. And we completely forget that we are actually meant for the pleasure of the Supreme Lord. And there is a constant tightening of Maya's grip. And it almost like we are entering into an irreversible process of entanglement in material existence. And in that state, we can say the soul is practically dead. Of course, the soul cannot die, but it is practically dead because it enters into this repeated birth and death of constant suffering, delusion, and disappointments. So, Kashyapa Muni is particularly exemplifying this because he was so exalted, such a learned soul, but still he will get completely overcome by the sexual attraction, and that is going to put him into the spell of illusion. Therefore, Prabhupada writes in the purport number 30 here that this purport is very, very nice, very similar to the purport that we have heard in the 558, right? The the famous verse where Rishabdev talks about the power of attraction between male and female is the basis for material existence. So here also Prabhupada is highlighting same principle. That this entire universe is going on under the spell of sexual attachment which was created by Lord Brahma to increase the population of the entire universe, not only in human society but also in other species. As stated by Rishabdev in the 5th canto, Punsa Striya Mithuni Bhavam Etam. This is the 558 I'm talking about. The entire universe is going on under the spell of sexual attraction and desire between man and woman. When man and woman unite, the hard knot of this attraction becomes increasingly tight, and thus a man is implicated in the materialistic way of life. This is the illusion of the material world. This illusion acted upon Kashyapa Muni, although he was very learned and advanced in spiritual knowledge. And then Prabhupada quotes 9:19:17, where a caution is given: a man should not associate with a woman in a solitary place, not even with his mother, sister, or daughter, for the senses are so strong that they lead astray even a person advanced in knowledge. When a man remains in a solitary place with a woman, his sexual desires undoubtedly increase. Now you can imagine we don't have to remain with a woman in a solitary place. A cell phone device is good enough. Therefore, the words ekanta bhutani, which are used here, indicate that to avoid sexual desires, one should avoid the company of women as far as possible. Sexual desire is so powerful that one is saturated with it. If he stays in a solitary place with any woman, even his mother, sister, or daughter. Now, this caution is given because what is going to unfold, you will see, is going to be very, very interesting. So Kashyapa Muni will get completely trapped by Diti's wonderful behavior, and as you can see that she has a deeper interest in mind, which is to take revenge, to kill Indra. But as every story in Srimad Bhagavatam, every story has a lot of twists and turns and with lots of lessons. So wonderful story to unfold. So stay tuned. Thank you very much.